Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness. Come journey with us exploring the meaningfulness of astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Rose Minahan, and it's Talk Cosmos. Today is May 24th, and this is particularly important because today ignites as far as our celestial version of understanding the sky, looking from Earth out into the sky, lining up with this dwarf planet, these two amazing energies, Uranus that has just moved into Gemini, that we spoke at length on Talk Cosmos in various times recently, and we will continue to next week in different perspectives. But this one is rather riveting. It's really an exceptional experience, and we'll get right into it because I have master astrologer Linda Barry. In fact, she's starting a new class early June, so get ready, email her and it's right on her site. It's quite an experience to learn about the fascination of vibrational astrology. But this concept we will just talk about further between Uranus and Sedna, the dwarf planet in Gemini. Here we go.
Quarterly on a third week, an exhilarating Talk Cosmos program embraces the equinox and solstice. The insightful lens of vibrational astrology frequencies reveals the energetic themes for each 3-month season. These individual and collective messages, initiated by the equinox and solstice moments, are supported by spiritually inspired Sabian symbols aligned on a soul and spirit basis. Get ready for our vibrational astrologers as they share this season's wisdom.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Robert Pacitti, professional consulting astrologer and the visionary behind Deep Earth Astrology and the Deep Earth Astrology Tarot, a divination tool and teaching aid that integrates astrology, herbalism, and natural reverence. I specialize in vibrational and psychological techniques and infuse my practice with a deep connection to nature's spirituality. I'm currently the Grand Pendragon in the Ancient Order of Druids in America and the director of the Magus Gathering in Gore, Virginia.
And I'm Linda Barry. I hold a professional astrology certificate in vibrational astrology from the Avalon School of Astrology, as well as a Master of Science in Social Work and bachelor degrees in psychology, mathematics, and computer programming. I teach vibrational astrology courses in the School of the Astrology of Vibrational Energetics online. I created Frequency Finder, an add-on to Cosmic Pattern, Sirius, and Kepler software. Frequency Finder provides an in-depth astrological analysis of your astrology chart. As a vibrational astrology researcher, I moderate a vibrational astrology research group, am an international consultant, a published author, and the writer of a free daily blog, The Vibrational Astrology Diary.
As an ancient mathematician, Pythagoras' music of the spheres about vibrating stars and planets, the electrical engineer Nikola Tesla said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." There you go. Hi, Ron. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Hey there.
Yeah, we are beginning. And folks, yes, this group, this little wonderful crew will return for the solstice, just like the recording said. Meanwhile, let's find out what the plot is for Uranus and Sedna, because we know, yeah. Yeah, it's consciousness patterns. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, to begin with, just as our little, it's no news. It's ancient. To find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. It was Nikola Tesla, and all things are in a state of vibration. Is Max Heindel. It goes on and on. Vibrational astrology, it focuses on the frequency patterns and they resonate. And there's many, many techniques. It's through thousands of charts, choosing the ones that are most significant, that will, through their research of discover what it's saying about that vibration. There are many tools, there's study books, there's software, and there's classes. In fact, there's a new one starting. I'm going to keep repeating it because it is in June. It's early June. So you have just enough time to email Linda, and her email is, or go to her website.
There it is, right there.
Oh, goody. Yes. So please, yes, you're in time. You're in time. Meanwhile, these are the very core energetic definitions. Each one of them have some key words that develop beyond that. And these have been derived from research. Just to give an indication of three, the sun, moon, and Uranus, as it pertains right now for your awareness. The sun and the moon reflect time. The sun is current time. It's shining all the time. It's illuminating, giving clarity to exactly what we see in front of us. It's a wonderful perception, thinking of it that way. And the moon, as you know, reflects. It doesn't have any energy of itself. Therefore, it is about the past, our stories, our emotions, history. Not history like, but still our emotional story. Uranus, on the other hand, expresses the cycles of the moment. It is not involved with past or future, which is an extraordinary thing to think of the present moment. And I often think that's the gift of mythology. In the past, with people were focused on time now. It's not a simple thing for us human beings in this era to really get to that. I see Rod shaking his head. I think as a nature person such as he is, he understands the absolute essential moment, but we're going to live it. Hello, people. Now is the time, by Charlie Parker. So Gemini, according to David Cochran, known as Sedna these days. Santino. Thank you, Linda. With his evidence-based research, which has thousands of videos online, it is all about curiosity. Curiosity. It engages, it persists, it's wonder, it's learning, it's sharing, it's reinventing oneself so that you can stay with it. I can vouch for that 1,000%. So many times throw the towel in. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm just not looking at it in the right direction. In you go. And you find new things because there's always something. If it's exhausted and you've done it, because there are cycles, things finish, onward. But imagination helps. That is Gemini. It's in close relationships, but we can, and that means the ascendant moon, Venus, but still it registers. This is an introduction to Linda's examination about this conjunction happening today. But I asked AI, and it came up with this when I fed it some information. It is an 11,406 year orbit, extremely elliptical, extremely mind-boggling long. This, in essence, gives a diagram of how to understand it. We're that little yellow dot with the sun and the planets that we often consider the green around it. Pluto is elliptical, as we know, but look at Sedna. Now, it is approaching the sun because in that 11,406 year cycle, it was closest, perihelion, back in the Ice Age. And that was, and it will be again in 50 years. To just give an idea of the distance, astronomical units, Earth is 1 from the sun. Pluto is about 40, but Sedna is, do I have that right? I have something wrong here.
No, it's not 7.2552. I don't know I don't have the number memorized, but Pluto's 40, it's more like 752.
I think I swapped these. Yeah. So there is a mythology, and it's from the Inuit mythology. And this is just a brief recap because I have presented this in other programs. But essentially, it was a maiden needed to find a suitor. And he promised her a lot. He finally found one, took her away in his canoe, but she was isolated. He was a bird king, and it presented a lot of troubles. This in spirituality represents ideas. And instead of the promises, she suffered scarcity. And she begged her father to save her. He did. He came over in his canoe. But the bird king, the ideas, the father represented all this tradition. And essentially, she needed to leave it. But there was created a huge storm because when you are trying to leave something, it's not a simple affair. There's attachments, there's problems. And to protect life, he dumped her. She was thrown out, but she clung because it's hard to let go of what we know. And clung to the canoe, and he cut her fingers off. In other words, time's out. It's over.
Yeah, to keep her from clinging to the canoe.
Yeah. In other words, what exists will be, and in its sense, whether it's going to stay strong or not, it's going to crumble. But yet her life, she became transformed, released from that conditioning of tradition represented by the father and the ideas that did not apply to her by the bird king. She sank. However, she transformed with water, emotion, the depth of the womb of the universe, you could say, the whole world. And she became a goddess. And her fingers, therefore, also, and became the food of the sea. And so one last point to bring up, and I know Rob has also some information about the Inuit, but throughout the Arctic, and particularly Canada reveres this, it has it on its flag, but the Inuk Sut, they're stone sculptures, and they're sacred of their ancestral knowledge and survival. You cannot, it's forbidden to destroy them. They're created in unity. You take one away, the whole thing tumbles. And as they travel, it gives them a message of the unity, interconnectedness, and interdependence, not to be confused with another one that are as figures. Rob, did you want to mention about your...
Yeah, I mean, just through my experiences and my roles in various organizations, I have, access to a lot of people who practice a lot of different nature spiritualities. And I was introduced to somebody who is of the Inuit tradition from northern Canada. I touched base with her yesterday, and one of the main themes that we were really able to get down to was the concept of empowerment through suffering. And from an astrological standpoint, we could apply that to many different things that maybe we already have researched, but there is a kind of natural reverence there within the Inuit community because that is just a part of life. It's not necessarily something that they view as a negative. They view it as a source of the ability to gain abundance. And that concept of empowerment through suffering. I don't, Linda, you could talk about some of the things that you've researched. It's about the person who creates the suffering as well. It's not just about the sufferer. Linda, do you have any insights on that?
Yeah. I did a bunch of research into what Uranus Sedna has generated through the centuries, as well as looking at the astronomy, doing a little bit of the biographical research we need to do, but that takes time, and I didn't have enough time to do as much of it as I would have liked to. The part that I can say definitely, which fits with everything that you two are saying, is that Sedna is about an alternative frame of reference, an alternative way of understanding life and the world. And you could even say empowerment through suffering could be viewed as an alternative perspective. But this, and the different planets related to Sedna in the conjunctions show things about the frame of reference. With Uranus, it was very, very clear that Uranus cracks open the current framework we're in. It literally cracks it open, and it changes. Every time Uranus Sedna comes into pattern, the world changes and something major new comes in. And when it reaches the opposition of Uranus to Sedna, that takes full form. This is, let me just show you this just for a minute. Let me have this,
that's such a,
please.
Yes, no, it's up. It's up. Linda, I hadn't changed it. Yours is up.
Oh, okay.
This is Sedna, the framework. And I will comment just that what you had indicated is so foundational that it's an amazing, the concept of breaking down to break through, because both those words are used often with Uranus, but in this case, as you're going to present, that is ultimately the message.
Right. We've got too much to talk about today. But one of the examples of this was the last time Uranus and Sedna conjuncted was 1931 to 1932. The opposition was 1975, and you figure a 2 or 3 year window around it, 31 to 32 there, and you can see 75 to 76. The gold standard was dropped by Britain in the 1931 window. In 1975, the currency was established that global monetary policy is anchored in state policy, central banks, negotiated coordination, and floating exchange rates. Literally, our money system changed. Another one that is really important for us to be aware of, 1931 was the start of fascist authoritarian Europe. Whoops. And 1975 was the establishment of the European Union. So it moved from a really negative pattern into cooperation and security as a framework in Europe, and no more wars among the European countries. Literally, that kind of a change.
Monumental.
One more. The Soviet Union started its first 5-year plan in 1928 to 1932. 1975, that was a 5-year plan to force modernization on Russia, on the Soviet Union. 1975, détente structures, the final act, they are operating as a full Cold War superpower. And I could go on. I've got 10 of them here.
And I think that is when the flag was raised and Gorbachev left and Putin came in, I think.
I don't think so. But we'd have to check. Anyway, let me give you, here is the chart for Uranus Sedna. It's actually conjunct to the degree for several hours, but this is the exact moment when it stays the same when you go through the vibrations. 9:56 a.m. That should be EDT. Sorry about that. Not EST.
Oh, yeah.
So, one more thing I want to mention before we go on. One of the unusual things about this particular Uranus-Sedna conjunction is that Uranus is direct and out of shadow. Uranus is out of its shadow for 1 to 3 days a year. Literally, the rest of the time it's in its retrograde shadow. It's in the degrees it's retrograde. This is the day it's out of the shadow. I mean, my gosh.
It's a clear path of getting a new renovation of a breakthrough. It's without any baggage, without any past story.
There's no hiding it. It's there.
I think it was from. Go ahead, Jim.
One of the things that, in all of the examples that you've brought up so far, all of these things may have been isolated to a specific country, but they've had collective, resonances throughout the entire idea.
Some of them are isolated to a country like Vietnamese. Of course, other countries interfered with Vietnam, but Vietnam did that pattern. It became a full communist country unified in the 1975 window. And, it's working on many levels where there are found. But it's not just the global level, but the global level is
I think the thread that Rob is saying stands true. I know that you have 10 different examples and you gave us 3, and that's a 4th one. But whether it's Iran and whether it's Saudi, all these other Middle East countries too. But I think what Rob's saying is so true, because we do think of Uranus as collective, and it is so absolute. Rob, I think you're.
Yeah, targeted. I think that's true. One of the other really big things that jumped out to me about this conjunction was the concept of the data centers. Especially in Gemini, where we're talking about exploration of information, and the concept of empowerment through suffering. And if you look at it from both sides of that equation there, you have one point of view, which is saying, well, we need to do this because it's ultimately going to lead us to a new level of success. And then you have another point of view where it's saying you're destroying our environment.
Yeah, taking all the water.
Environment and people's livelihood and so on.
So this is happening all over the country, all over the world right now with these data centers.
It sure is.
Also, if you look at how China is approaching these data centers, where are they putting their data centers? They're putting them in the ocean.
Oh.
So it's just, there seems to be this kind of like interwoven connectedness between empowerment through suffering and this whole data center. Especially in the United States, there's not a lot politically that people can get along with right now, but there is this collective idea throughout the entire country. It's like, I don't want my backyard destroyed. I don't want my drinking water destroyed. Right. I'm in Pennsylvania. We're having this big fight right now because we have what's called an ecological bill of rights that, we're fighting with our governor about saying, hey, we have the right to clean water. We have the right to this. You can't make us suffer this way. But yet again, the powers that be are empowering through suffering.
Yeah. And it's often money. One last thought.
Look at the quincunx. Look at the major quincunx here. Sun, Uranus, Sedna. See, that Sun was just conjunct Uranus about 1 or 2 days ago. And now Uranus is conjunct Sedna. Figuring out how to bring to birth a new, different foundational structure for life. Okay? And this is the problem. This describes the problem. We need to bring to birth something different. And there's always suffering when there's something different happens.
That's it. What. Yeah. That's actually an evolutionary astrology view.
This is a compulsive flowing emergence. This is trine Pluto, for heaven's sakes. The same pattern of a new and different foundational structure. Things are going to change. We just have the struggle of making it change in a way that works for people. And that it will take us about 40 years to get this really right. And there's unfortunately going to be suffering in the way. Okay, now, one of the things that I have developed, that we have learned about vibrational astrology, you have like all these different vibrations, and the planets are in different places in each of them. They're related to each other, and I can't explain that in a couple minutes, but they are directly related to each other, but they're different positions. When we study where there are the strongest conjunctions between planets across the vibrations, we get core foundational energies. And the 3 strongest conjunctions that are all less than half a second, less than half a second for you astrologers, that's so tight it's mind-boggling, are Moon in 95 to Mercury in 96. That's the orange line here. You can see this whole big structure here. Moon in 95, and notice this 19 shows up over and over. Moon to explore and analyze the patterns of the past. 96, 3 times Mercury to formulate plans for a long time, aiming to create harmony. But this 32 takes and builds the pattern down inside, and it's kind of hidden, and then eventually it just pops out. And so that's the first one. And Moon Mercury is understanding our emotional patterns.
Yeah.
Second one is Moon Mars. And Moon Mars here, you can see the orange line over here where they're exact. And that's between vibe 123 for Mars and 146 for the Moon. And this definition for 41 comes from the work that Diane Suarez done in my research group. Mars, to have all the actions operate in an interconnected pattern of flow. 146, to bring the true essence of each person into interaction with all the others.
That's really valuable.
And then the third pattern, 3 patterns like this, is Sun Moon, for heaven's sakes. The core are within half a second of each other. The Moon in 57, which is 19 times 3. The Sun in 133, which is 19 times 7. And for Sue and Rob know, 19 has to do with taking the societal patterns and analyzing them and figuring out what's working right and what you need to shift and making those shifts.
Couldn't even be more explicit, could it?
I think we also need to clarify that 3 does not necessarily mean a flow is going to exist. It's a need for a flow.
It means you're trying to establish a flow.
Yeah, and you've got to make it. It's got to work. And you're going to force one way or the other, meaning with this compulsive, relentless, if we have particularly Pluto there, accentuating, forcing everything. It's good. And collective, there will be people forcing their agenda that other people, that'll actually help break it down. Right. And it'll take time for others to take the debris when the time is right to push it forward. Yeah, it's a process. And
so look at the Moon, to analyze the impact of societal patterns, to seek to create an emotional experience of flowing harmony. The Sun, to analyze the impact of societal patterns on the internal structure and development of individual people. I've got to skip this next part for now. We'll see if I can come back.
Well, we can come back. We need to take a break, just a little getaway. So it's perfect timing. Once again, I like the positive signs. Okay, folks, we'll be back. Return with us. See ya.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the period of Gemini. By leaving a cycle based on physical form, integrated through spirit, the energy of Gemini connects spirit with matter, focused on communicating and defining the external. Gemini is a mutable air sign signifying flexibility. Gemini dually focuses upon teaching and learning in order to synthesize the world one lives within.
Talk Cosmos ignites insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click their like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. You can listen to earlier podcasts since 2018, either on most podcast carriers or under the video tab on Talk Cosmos YouTube. To join our expedition and find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com and launch your week into the cosmic wonder.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to newprosupplements.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, May 31st, it's an encore presentation. Tune in to hear our last energy balancing show with Linda Rasmussen. We took phone calls, and Linda helped callers and their animal friends with emotional, behavioral, and physical issues, and you can receive a surrogate healing just by tuning in, listening, and following along with Linda's instructions. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Want to hear something different from talk radio? Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, everybody. And just to make a note, I had made an error earlier. It's actually 1 degree. It's not 0 degrees. It's close, but no cigar. It's 1 degree. So we'll go through this little part, but it's important. Linda Berry, School of Astrology and Vibrational. Excuse me, folks. Yeah, School of Vibrational Energetics. Her classes are beginning in a couple of weeks, and there'll be plenty more points, but do contact her. And it is Astrological Depth, whereas her website is astrosleuth.org. Astrological Depth was a earlier website, so her email is still Linda@Astrological Depth. And I think come solstice, we'll know about Fractal Cosmos for its second, yes, Rob's going yes, for its second annual conference on vibrational astrology. And Rob Pacitti is Deep Earth Astrology, and he organizes a Magus gathering, and he cites Deep Earth Astrology. He has a book and tarot going out, and we'll find out more about that. So this is, if you click this slide, I think at home, you can actually get into Linda's site. But the June is the next beginner class. It's an introduction, and it's class by class. It's fascinating. And you can email her at Linda@Astrological Depth. And again, this is explaining about it and her email right there. So many ways to find it out. astrosleuth.org is the site, but just emailing Linda, you can find out about it too. And that's at astrologicaldepth.com, Linda@astrologicaldepth. She provides a daily free calendar diary, as Linda calls it, about the celestial energies for that day, and then an ongoing report of events such as the new moon, the full moon, and it's complex and it's beautiful. It's short. You can also find it online on Facebook, but you can email her for that. And for $20 a month, she gives a personal monthly report that also includes personalized for your chart to give you extra information. Fractal Cosmos, get ready. It'll be happening in the fall. And Rob Pacitti, deepearthastrology.com. He writes, he's also a faculty of the Center of Relationships and Astrology with Margaret Gray, and he's a Grand Pendragon of the Ancient Order of Druids, and organizes the Magus Gathering in Gore, Virginia, and the co-director of Fractal Cosmos. But big news here for Rob is he hoped last year, but this is the year to publish a fantastic created tarot deck, and it's really focused on nature and spirituality, along with a book. You can buy it if you go to UAC, and otherwise it'll be available in December. Yes, Rob? Okay. Talk Cosmos next week. We're going to do Uranus square the lunar nodes. I did a show myself last week for the first time. I might do a few others, but that was about this huge, bringing it down to home program. It's hard. Yeah, check it out about things. We're ready for Linda. I hope that gave a good survey. Yes, that's a bullseye. There
okay. Now, I'm going to do this real quickly. This is showing the need for, this is a pattern. There are two parts to it here. These are linked to each other. Vibration 51, the need for the emergence of an inclusive foundational structure within each person.
It's very interesting because one of the other things that I discussed in my conversation yesterday, two things that I wrote down was compassion born from hardship and the need for collective healing work. Wow. Not just about collective healing, the need to establish the work of healing.
And I love that.
And the second half of this is 17 times 3 and 17 times 9. For those of you that know, that's the community. A compulsive, flowing emergence of an inclusive foundational structure within the community all day, every day.
Meaning there's a part for each one of us. Each person can get involved
to be healed,
somehow.
and communities need to be healed.
Yeah, and we can get involved in a community of any sort. I think that's what I keep trying to push is that it, big or small, it does make a difference.
Okay, now the strongest vibration. Vibration 127. New ideas arising from the personal patterns of people, bringing an expansive new foundation flowing into the active hands-on experiences of each person.
Ooh,
that's the work. That's the work.
That's the work. And when in any vibration, there are other vibrations operating, and the strongest vibration in 127 is 205. 205, here's a picture of the 205 pattern in 127.
Wow.
And here's what it looks like when you get to where it's actually, you can see it, this unbelievable 7-planet T-square.
No.
Major action-oriented change. And you've got the two sides here. You've got Moon, Mars, Pluto. Compulsive, competitive achievement in Moon, Mars, Pluto. That over here we have Sun, Mercury, Neptune. That's visionary ideas for changing everyday experience, and that's coming through. That's the conflict right there pictured in the chart.
It's the empowerment and the suffering, and it's
the empowerment and the suffering, and the problem is that in some ways everybody suffers.
Oh yes, indeed. In fact, Chiron's going into Taurus, and
look at
worth
it, the T-square,
abundance.
The exact Uranus Sedna position at the point, the focus of that opposition. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just so amazing. Okay, so then the thing we have left, well, we got two kinds of Sabian symbols, but these are the basic symbols that, remember, this is not vibrational astrology. This is the Sabian symbols.
Yeah.
And this is the Uranus Sedna position symbols. The first one is 2 of Gemini. That's the one that Sue was just mentioning. 1 of Gemini 38, Santa Claus filling stockings furtively. This is about us being an open container that can receive the gifts of the Spirit. This is about us hanging our stocking on the fireplace so Santa has something he can put the gifts in, folks. This is about being an open container that can receive the gifts and awarenesses that Spirit in a disguised form is sneaking into us.
Oh, I love it. It's being the vessel. It is being ready and preparing. It's everything about meditation, everything about purging our shadows, et cetera, et cetera. And we have a clean slate.
Vibration, Tai Chi, meditation, the ways we can open up
nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm a little biased here. But I really do feel like, many of the descriptions that you gave of Sedna, just the things we've talked about today, the legends, the myths, there is some kind of ecological thread woven throughout.
There is.
And we are connecting back to nature in a real way is going to be an important, stepping stone into this collective healing and having compassion for those that are going to be having hardship. It's not just about one thing. I mean, the things that are going to be changing over the next 30 to 50 years. I mean, we talked about the perihelion of this. I mean, this is a long, long cycle. The changes that we're going to be seeing are going to be drastic, and they are going to involve the ecology and the environment. And we're going to need to connect to the earth and the nature spirit.
I've often thought as we go through all these political whatevers that are happening, I think the final call is nature. Like here, I just had a 6.0 earthquake. It rattled and rolled. It was like, she's serious. That's what my idea was, because there was an intensity there that you weren't quite sure if it was going to stop. She did for the moment.
Okay, so the second symbol, the soul pattern, is to experience the different patterns and types of awareness in life, begin to mix and match them in interactions, compare and contrast in a cooperative, experimental way, or else pull back and sit on the edges. The third one, this is, I couldn't believe this symbol. The spirit lesson for Sedna, that the thing that it's trying to teach us. The symbol is officers on dress parade, but this is about displaying the disciplined, orderly aspects of yourself, building up your strength, and seeking to keep the more disreputable aspects under control.
Yeah.
And look at this. When you look at the pitfalls, closing yourself off and refusing to be open to the gifts of the Spirit, pulling back from life, sitting on the edges, not being involved, and using your strength and control of power to dominate and suppress your opposition.
This is where Sedna, finally, it does break through. And I think if people once again realize it doesn't have to, you don't just jump to the top of the tree. It's one branch at a time. I remember that, climbing trees. It's just a simple act, because nature is action. One little step, it's like dominoes. It opens something up. So whether you participate with your local somebody or get involved, however, it matters.
I also think it goes back to that concept of having to have the fingers chopped off to let go.
Right.
You're compulsively hanging on, and you have to lose the thing.
You don't have a choice.
You don't.
You have to be prepared, and through that, you have to accept spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is, I looked at the Sabian symbols for the 3 conjunctions I showed you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was an empty hammock, feeling a sense of emptiness and potentiality, opening up again to and waiting for connection to various aspects of yourself. The second one was a flag that turns into an eagle that crows, letting go of established alliances, moving into a new sense of spiritual connections that teach you to celebrate your unique individuality. And listen to the third one, a man dreaming of fairy.
Ooh, I love it.
You are learning to see the invisible and effectively penetrating into deeper and more mysterious levels of yourself and of what is around you through your imagination, reintegrating with the rejected aspects of yourself and your world.
I think curiosity is really useful. And the other thing is realizing that anything of yourself is finite. You eventually need this participation, whether with the world or somebody. I think it's saying that.
Each of us is called to decide how we will respond to the pattern of life around us that we are living within.
Yeah. That's very important.
It is. It's like every single person has their agenda of what's making sense. And it's this whole kettle of interactions. We have AI that we hear. Go ahead.
I've got to share where this came from. This is a paraphrase of in The Lord of the Rings. Frodo's talking to Gandalf when he's first learning about what in the world this ring is about. And Frodo says, why did I get this? How come I've got this?
I remember that
thing? And Gandalf says to him, we don't get to decide what we are in. All we can decide what we will receive, what we have to deal with. All we can do is decide how we will handle what we are given.
Yeah.
That is the beauty, actually, of life. When you learn that your power rests within. You may not be able to change this or that, but if you take what you have and are accountable to it and look at the good and the bad and the ugly and really address it, there is a path. And when all else fails, it could be a cocoon. You could be emerging.
Well, there is creation with Sedna. Just keep in mind, when those fingers got cut off, they became all of the mammals of the ocean. It was new life in a different form of spirit. And all of these things we've been talking about, empowerment through suffering, dealing with drastic ecological change, isolation, exile, suppressed rage, compassion, that is born from hardship, and really leads to that concept of collective healing work. It's not collective healing, it's collective healing work. We are going to have to really get rid of some of the diurnal nature that we exist in over the past few years. And, we're going to be forced to all lose our fingers and go into the depths, and hopefully something will come of that.
Well, I think a lot of it, I'm just reflecting on Pluto, and earlier I did Viktor Frankl's book, The Meaning, Life in War, and he discovered that if you have meaningfulness is the key to life. So there are moments when what you've been invested in disintegrates and it no longer exists, or in your heart you've evolved, you've reached a new perspective, and you look at it and you go, it's just not real. But if you allow yourself to really get information from open, that you're not the only answer, there's another way, and find new meaning, there's a new path. So that can happen even in suffering. He was the worst of suffering.
We get attached, folks. We like to maintain the patterns we've lived in, oftentimes even when they're hurting us.
Yeah.
And the process of learning to let go. Sedna is cracking us open. Uranus with Sedna is cracking us open. Uranus with Sedna is cracking open the culture, revealing the problems, and it's up to us to do something about it.
Absolutely. And one of the things about Uranus, especially in vibrational astrology, is it almost acts like a portal. It allows things to come through the door. And, with something like Sedna, now keep in mind, Sedna as a planetary body is from, was discovered in the early 2000s. This is not a highly researched.
No, it's not. We've got
in any form of astrology. It's not, so, we're talking about the myth, and seeing how it works within the collective consciousness and the collective unconsciousness. But when Uranus is conjunct something, especially something which has such a powerful mythos to it, we are really, I think we're going to get a defining moment here for Sedna. And I think that we're kind of when we first talked about this, I'm like, why is Sue having us do this? And then the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, this is something. There's something here that is important to talk about.
Uranus has about a 35-year winter.
Or
42 planet, and a 35-year summer. And about 10 years when it changes from one to the other. And when it is that portal of transition, and boy, is it chaotic.
I've been wondering in my year, since you said that, and because that's one factor that wasn't shared in some of the studies that I did when I studied Sedna. I'm wondering, well, in the year I was born, was it dark or was it light? I imagine it was dark.
Well, but you see, one half's dark, the other half's light.
Well, that's what I meant.
Frozen, and one half is it has about a 35-year day.
Yeah.
It has about a 35-year night. But the other thing is that Uranus is literally laying on its side. It's 90 degrees to all the other planets. Its north-south pole is laying on its side, and it's rolling around like a ball retrograde as it goes around the solar system.
It breaks all the patterns. It breaks the rhythm.
Something that is at a 90-degree angle off from everything else.
Which I'm glad you brought this up again, because it's essential. And I know in our conversation, I think and I'll just say this and people can add what, of course, is that from my perspective, or what it is that Uranus actually has, because it's a unique perspective and breaking through things, that it really is a matter of forcing the awareness of this other viewpoint that actually brings them on course. I know it's evolutionary.
Like a shock. It's like
and yet
because you get something you didn't expect.
It's a rectification, I think, in a way.
And I've got a lot of Uranus. I think all three of us do.
Yes, we do.
But I've cut some of the other people that are working very closely with me. But I find that your Uranus is still off from mine. There's still a shock in the interaction, even if you're very Uranian.
Well, except it can be quite exciting.
Oh,
it depends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's a revelation. Now, if it's but it can be. You're absolutely right. Going back to Sedna, I found, because it is available in Solar Fire, it's available in Sirius, it's available in quite a few, and even astro.com, whatever. But the point being that if you take your natal chart with Sedna and then go, when did Saturn aspect it? When did Pluto aspect it? And
the conjunctions, you especially want the
conjunctions, yes. It is revolution. It opens up in your mind a whole history of life, like a diary of your experiences, and you begin to perceive how it works in your life. For me, it seems like it's a Shakespeare story. I have to go through the whole darn. It's just like her story. It's not a simple one-act deal, because you cannot let go until you finally do.
It's where you have to let go.
I do definitely think there's something it's already very unique and very much like a portal, but the fact that it's out of shadow when this happens.
It's not normally. Normally you have like these 2 or 3 retrograde things. It's out of shadow. Sedna and Uranus are both direct, and that is very, very rare.
Yeah, I think this is
because they're both right on the sun. When these bodies are right on the sun, they're direct.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've got that is just
one for the ages, one could say.
Yes, and a time for us to realize there is a step through community and together and our own path out of victimhood into accountability, where we can find meaning and engagement and make a difference. We're part of the picture. And I'm over there now. Hey, my camera.
Just because you suffer doesn't make you a victim.
No, it's a path. In fact, we have
it's a path
Chiron,
to get to where you need to go.
Our experience, our story.
Do everything right and still lose. That's just life.
Okay, folks, have faith. Begin.
Thank you for joining this vibrant and insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests awaken consciousness by connecting heart and soul consciousness patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.